Hi, I want to talk about a topic that's kind of strange. It has a parallel in divinity and also in artificial intelligence robotics. I want to start from where most people would be familiar, and many people have studied technical stuff and they can kind of relate to these ideas. I was reading about these companies that were making robots, and this subject also comes out in drones, that you could really make two kinds of drones or two kinds of robots. One would be, and this one would be more complex robot that is autonomous. It has its own software. The software does calculations pretty smart. It has AI, and all you have to do is tell it, this is the field, and we need to spray it with insecticides, and just kind of figure out the contours. Don't go into the other field, and it has smarts. It will take off and does it work, does its work, and then comes back to land. Kind of very autonomous and kind of intelligence, but nevertheless it's self-directed. It's not directed by a server that might be located elsewhere, and the server doesn't give it much of a commands. But then most drones and robots, they are hooked up to a central server or several central servers, and you would hope that there would be a very nice and steady communication link, like 5G or 4G, but very wide band, and the server does all the calculations. The software for the drone, except some minimal software to land and take off, to come back, would be really located in the server, and the server would do all the work. It would send the corrections, whatever. And this can go on with robots too. The robots that are manipulated or controlled by the central computers. Well, this topic, which shows up in robotics and AI, has a parallel in divinity, and you gotta have to read the New Testament and also Quran to kind of figure out, hey, there is a parallel. For example, Prophet Muhammad says that the heart of the believer or moment is connected, is Ettesaal, Ettesaal, and there is lights that come in, just like an Android device that's hooked to the server and is functioning properly. This Android device, when you turn it on, the lights come on, and there's apps, you can make phone calls, you can receive a phone call, you can do all kinds of stuff. It's very rich. It does many different things. But then he went on to say, but the heart of the shaghi, or a criminal, or people who are disconnected, is dark, and there is nothing there. When you look into this heart, there is no light. It's like a device that has broken, or is entirely self-directed, and it's very misguided. So really a lot of the things that the society does is really a programming that's done by the physical body. The body has needs, whether it is social or sexual or intellectual, and throughout history, through cultural development, this programming has come in. It's like a hive culture, and it is, or some of it is just physical. And this programming is something that was kind of like an invention of society. Well, from time to time, like prophets like Jesus or Prophet Muhammad come in, or Buddha, and they they have their greater culture, the greater spirituality, and kind of influences this hive culture. The hive culture kind of changes itself to be amenable to receive these inspirations. It doesn't stay the same. Societies suddenly change, like time of Prophet Muhammad or times of Jesus. When a higher spiritual self or higher divinity comes in, because it has the greater spirituality, greater intelligence, is able to totally change everything in society. Well, many societies completely everything, laws, like healing methods, governance, everything changes because this is the greater. It's like somebody that was or a robot that was connected to the central server, received instructions, and then it came in and modified all the other robots, and it could do so without too much damage or too much because it was the right programming. It was the programming that was given to it, and had greater intelligence, that also knew the limitations of all the other robots. So this brings out to another topic, is that many people, even very intelligent, very wealthy, very what they would think as themselves as religious or spiritual, they are incapable of changing society. There's only very, very few people that can change the society. They can impact millions of people, even if the stuff they wrote or said was kind of very obscure in the beginning, and nobody like pay attention to them. But they are the ones, after some certain time, or even in the same time as he or she might be alive, you see that the whole society is turning around and looking at this person or this teacher and taking notes and changing. Oh, I want to talk about only very, very few portions of humanity that can actually do that, and the other people they won't. Well, one of these two groups is like like Einstein has radical new discoveries that just shake the scientific world. Like he discovered the relativity or quantum physics, or people who are extremely creative, and they come up with a whole new paradigm. The society is confronted with this individual, and either subconsciously or consciously adopts all his values, or many of them, seeping into society, and they change the world. So this is basically the only qualifier, is a person that due to his or her spirituality or his or her uh, scientific accomplishment or discoveries can change the world. And you'll see that these people are extremely minority. There's like very few of them. Well, then the other group would be like those people that are connected to the divine, the spirit. So, and their perception, their ways, they're much richer reality that they live in. It just totally seeps into society, and you see that sometimes in some historical periods that entire society changed or entire civilizations have changed and have adopted different religion or ideas. Well, I want to tell you some examples of this kind. Well, Jesus does come to mind, and you see the New Testament, how each disciple's perception of Jesus, and you see the deep impact he had made on the world. And well, I read Quran and read Imam Ali, and there's a quality about these writings. Or, for example, I read Nahjul Balagha, the peak of eloquence, which is was the writings of Imam Ali, his lectures, his letters, or his little short sentences of advice. And when you read these things, the quality they have is once you read them one time, only one time, it never leaves you alone. It's like a little key, and this key is able to open so many dilemmas, so many problems that many like economists or philosophers, they are struggling with that. This goes ditto with Quran. Well, at the time, it was considered really nice prose, and many Arabs they knew Quran by heart, either some chapters or some they call them hafiz, entire book by heart. It had made such an impact that at its time and place. Well, I sometimes use like little sentences from Quran to like begin a lecture that's very philosophical, very difficult to understand. Well, I don't want to go more deeply into this topic, but there is some Christians, they say that you need to make your own relationship with God, okay? And there is some story in New Testament about it. The same go in Islamic. It doesn't matter if you practice all the rites or Islamic rites. If you don't have Ettesaal, you don't have heart connection to God, you're like a robot that can do some limited things, but because it's not connected to the server, it does not lead the very rich life that the one that's connected. Well, then there is a story in New Testament that there was this village. I think this is the Old Testament. That in this village there was only one water well, and this water well connected to the water table. So, but these people they made no effort to or precautions for future in case something happened to this water well, and something did. The water level changed directions underground, or it went dry in this particular water well. Well, what they should have done, they should have made each their own water well, so they are connected to life-giving force, and that didn't happen. They had a lot of problems. Well, this topic is kind of complicated, and I don't want to go too far into these directions, but later on we'll have more. But my stuff is research, and you cannot find this stuff anywhere on the internet. Please subscribe and leave your comment, and also kind of ponder these ideas, not just hear them and then move on. Thank you very much.